Okay, so in this video we will see how to actually make a player and move it in the scene. So to make a player, first of all, we're going to make a sprite. We're going to make a square. So here in the project view, right click and select create, and we will select sprites and we will select square. Hit enter, and now what we're going to do is that we're going to drag the square to the hierarchy like this. So now that we drag the square to the hierarchy, we can see that we created a game object with the sprite of the square. Alright, so now we will rename our square. So to rename a square, go here to the inspector, click here, and we'll rename our square to player, like this. And now we need to add a behavior to this player so we can move it in the scene and in our game. So to create a new behavior, we're going to create a script. So go here to the project view, right click, and select create, and then we're going to select C# script. We're going to call this script, let's call it player, with a capital P. It's very important that the first letter is a capital letter. Hit enter, and now we're gonna double click this C# script. This is gonna open Visual Studio. Alright, so now Visual Studio should have opened. So now what we're going to do is that here inside the update method, we're going to check for the user input. So if the user presses the up arrow, we want to move up. If we press the left arrow, we want to move left. If we press the down arrow, we want to move down. And if we press the right arrow, we want to move right. So to check for the user input, we're gonna type in if input dot get key, and then we're gonna open parentheses, and we're going to say key code dot up arrow. So if we press the key that is the up arrow, then we want to move upwards. So to move upwards, we need to modify the position of our player. So we look here in the Unity editor and we select our player. We can see that our player has components here in inspector. It has a sprite render and it has a transform component. So what we want to do is that we want to modify the position of the player. So let's go back to the script in Visual Studio, and in here let's type in transform dot position equals new vector2. And now we're going to open parentheses. So a vector2 is basically, it's a value with two components. It has an X component and a Y component. So along the X axis, we don't want to modify the position of the player. We only want to modify the position along the Y axis because we're moving upwards. So we want to add to the Y axis. So on the X axis, we're just going to say transform.position.x. So if we press the up arrow, the transform.position.x is going to be the same. And for the y-axis, we're going to type in transform.position, so .position.y plus, so plus 1. We're going to add 1, for example, times, and we're going to multiply this 1 times time dot delta time, and end with a semicolon. So now, right now you might be asking, okay, and what is this time dot delta time? Okay, if you're a beginner, the only thing that you need to know for now is that time dot delta time is just a way to say that we want to move this amount of Unity units. So we want to move this amount of units in 1 second. That's what we're doing when we're multiplying by time dot delta time. If we didn't put this time dot delta time, that means that we would be moving 1 unit in every frame of the game, because this update method is what we call the game loop. This runs in every frame of the game. So if the game runs at 60 frames per second, then this method will be called 60 times per second. That means that we would be moving at a speed of 1 unit in every frame. So like 50 units maybe, or 60 units per second. And that's a lot of space and a lot of units. We don't want to move that quickly. So that's why we multiply by time dot delta time, like this. So we move this amount in 1 second. Okay, now that we know how to move the square up, we're going to do the same, but we have to do it in the other directions. So let's say else if, and we're going to type it input dot get key, open parentheses, key code. So we already know the drill, dot, and then we're going to type in down arrow. So if we input the down arrow, then we want to So let's just copy this code and paste it here. So Control C, Control V, select, Control C, Control V. And what we're going to do here is that we're going to say that instead of +1, we want to go -1 because we want to go down. Okay, now we're just gonna copy this block of code. So Control C and paste it down, Control V, Control V. And now we're just gonna check for the other conditions. So if we press the right arrow, then we want to go right. So to go right, we want to, instead of modifying the Y component, we're going to modify the X component. So select this, Control X, and then go to the X component and paste Control V. So if we go right, we want to add 1. And if we go left, so if keycode.left, left arrow, then we want to go left. So to go left, just get rid of this, or hit Control X if you want, and paste it here, Control V. So we are taking away 1 in the X coordinate. All right, so now everything should work. Make sure you hit Control S to save the script. Let's go back to the Unity editor. And here, if we select our player, we see that it has the transform component and the sprite renderer. But for this player script to work here in the project view, we need to actually attach it to the player. So to attach it to the player, let's add a component to the player. Let's type in player here. Let's click add component and look for the player script. So attach it, and now it should have our player game object should have our player script attached to it. So now let's hit play and let's see if we can actually move. And we can see that if we press the down arrow, we go down, the right we go right, up and left. All right, but maybe we can see that the square is going a little bit too slow. So how can we do it so that we move a little bit faster? So to move faster, let's go back to the script, and we're moving just 1 unit. Let's say we wanted to move 3 units. We could change this 1 for 3, but let's create a variable so that we can do it just in one go. So instead of 1, we're going to put here speed. So we're going to change the 1 for speed, and speed is going to be a variable that we are going to define right now. So change the 1 for speed, and now we're going to create here a public variable. So at the top of the class, let's create a public. So public float speed, like this. So now whatever the value of this is, then that's the amount that we're going to move in any direction. So save, let's go back to the Unity editor, select, make sure that our player is selected, and here in the player script, let's change the speed from 0 to 3, save, play the game, and now we can see that we can move way faster in every single direction. Okay, so that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video.